Okay, so this is my personal build at home, the one I've been live streaming on now for the last 6 months or so. If you guys are not aware and you haven't seen this build, this is what I call black ice. As I'm preparing to kind of transition over to my new 12th gen build, whenever I decide to finish that, I want to talk about some of the challenges of open air chassis as I actually clean this one, because one of the biggest challenges, obviously, is the fact that you have zero filtration, which means dust and dirt. And it doesn't help when you have Santa Ana winds kicked up and you leave your windows open, which completely coats your home office / game room in dirt and fine powdery sand, because I live near the desert, and it all finds its way into the system and, more importantly, inside the radiators and the fans and all that. So today we're gonna clean it and we're gonna talk about some of the things that you guys can do to kind of minimize this from happening as I kind of really start to think about my life's choices. ViewSonic is proud to announce their all-new Elite XG32OU gaming monitor. The XG32OU features a 4K 32-inch display with a 1 millisecond response time and 150 Hz refresh rate, and builds upon ViewSonic's revered Elite panel lineup. The ViewSonic Elite series monitors feature clean aesthetic design that blend well with any setup, whether it be professional or personal, due to their sleek design and tasteful lighting. To learn more about ViewSonic's gaming monitors, or to see their full lineup of monitors, click the link in the description below. So ever since I retired Skunkworks, which is my SM88, which by the way also did not have fan filters, but at least I could control the entry point at which the air made its way in. And you guys might hear our big roll-up door clinking around over there because it is windy right now, like I said. The Inwin 928 chassis, which I used prior to this one, which is a bigger version of this, which Nebula was in, and this 925 share a very common theme, and that is the fact that there's this opening around all of the glass that dirt and dust can make its way in. Now on the surface right now, it doesn't look too bad, but that's because of the way that this particular chassis pulls air in. You can see it's solid here. So air gets pulled in around the side, right here, and into these fans, and then into the chassis. The challenge here is the fact that when you live in a dusty, dirty area like I do, I live on the edge of civilization. I am in SoCal, but I am like literally right on the edge of where the desert begins. So we get lots of wind and very fine, sandy dirt. Something that just can't be helped with the area that I live in. And if you take a look, it doesn't show too badly right now because I've kind of blown this out slightly. This graphics card right here has a ton of dirt inside the fan. There will be dirt inside here as well. So one of the things I want to do is take this out, and we'll do this in a video right after this one, so you'll see this video coming up, is I'm going to disassemble the cooler on this so I can get in here and clean out the fan blades and stuff as much as possible. And then I might actually ditch the vertical mount and go with the standard horizontal mount, only because of the fact that in this position, with the fan in the back blowing right against the motherboard wall, I don't get nearly as efficient of a cooling action as it does horizontal, bringing the air up and then being exhausted out the top of the case. Although there's no exhaust on the top of this case, it sort of just recirculates. So the fact that the Inwin 928 is able to keep itself even somewhat cool is kind of impressive, to be honest, because it does a lot of recirculating of hot air. But one of the things I find very useful for any sort of toolkit is just to get yourself some soft bristle brushes. And this really comes in handy when it comes to cleaning fans and such. Like, we'll start with the rear. This is the back of the case. So because everything's sort of mounted internally, this exhaust, like, it literally pulls the air out. And you've got 360 millimeters worth of fans here to do that. Now, if you take a look at the edges of the fan blades, you can see just how much dirt and fuzz has started collecting on the edges of the fan blades here. And what's funny about that is it may not seem like much, but as that starts to build up on the fans, it actually changes the sound of the fans quite a bit. Instead of them being quiet as they kind of chop through the air, you start to actually hear a little bit more turbulent sound effect. The 3090 right now is fairly loud with the amount of dirt that's in it, because as dirt starts to accumulate inside the heatsink, the efficiency of the cooler goes down, RPMs go up to try and make up for that efficiency loss, then you get more noise. But I'll just take this brush initially, and without even taking it off of here, which I might end up having to, I'll just start to loosely break up as much of the dirt as I can. I see how this is all like starting to fly around. I'll get all the leading edges on here. I'll worry about the fan cage later. And then I'll just work my way around with all the fans and get all the edges cleaned up. Now, one of the things we'll be utilizing today too is isopropyl alcohol, because sometimes you've got to soak stuff down to get it to really kind of let go. This textured plastic gives the dirt something to sort of bite onto, which makes it become a little bit more difficult to clean. The nice thing about isopropyl alcohol, it is non-conductive and it won't hurt anything. Unless you spray it on plastic and you let it sit there, then it will actually start to break down the plastic and will etch it and it'll look bad. So make sure you don't just let it sit there. You need to make sure you clean it off. The goal here though is to see how much of this we can get clean without full disassembly. And I find that the bristle brushes really help with that. The face of the fans already look really good, but if we look at the back of the fans, you can see just how dirty those actually are. And this is where I'll start to really utilize the rubbing alcohol and such. The first thing I'm gonna do though, is I'm gonna hit this with some compressed air. Not from a compressor though, but from a little air blower like this. This triggers people all the time because technically the dirt just, if I were doing this in my home right now, like in the room, the dirt will blast off of the system and it will just land elsewhere and eventually make its way right back into the system. But because I take it here to this giant warehouse that we have, I just let it infiltrate our lungs. However, the circulatory system works. Oh wait, that's blood, right? The poopatory system works. Let's see what comes off like this. So you can see on this fan right here, some dust came off and maybe you didn't see it from that angle. But obviously, if I rub my finger on there, you can see it's really caked on because it's textured. This is where I'll be using the rubbing alcohol or isopropyl alcohol in the brush to really get it going. But before I make mud, get all the loose stuff off. Now the thing that with this particular chassis that makes it kind of, not difficult, just sucky to clean is the fact that it's got this, I mean, look at the brush lines in the metal. That's just prime real estate for dirt to make its way in and then not want to release itself. So you really got to start to use a microfiber or something to really sort of wipe that down. Now, I'll take my spray bottle with my 91% isopropyl alcohol and just douse the fan. You're not gonna hurt anything, I swear. And now I'll take my brush and really just start working it in down there as I go round and round with the fan blade. But now what I'll do is hit it with the air and we'll watch it dry. So now, that's better, but I think we need to hit it again. Hit me again, tube sock! Who remembers that commercial from the Super Bowl? Skittles commercial. Whatever, shut up. Don't judge me. So the top fan is done. I gotta do the bottom two now. And we'll go ahead and just work our way down and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Then we'll get to the good stuff inside the case here. All right, so this is all clean. A little bit of dirt right there I need to wipe. This is the easy part. It depends on the open air chassis that you're running though, on how hard it's gonna be. So because the front, as you can see, is solid, I'm fortunate that with this particular case, I can slide the front rad out, or not the, there's no front rad actually. And that's one of the reasons why I'm excited about going with the Spectre is I'll be able to run 2 radiators again, where I only had 1 radiator, but also only a CPU in here. Once I add another 400 watts or so to the loop, there's a lot of extra cooling that has to be done. But I want to try and limit the amount of just regurgitating and having dirt blow out of here and land somewhere else. I'm gonna try and blow air up in here first to push it down. And yes, it'll get all over this, but I have access to this easier than here. And if I push it up through, it's gonna circulate back and I'm gonna end up pushing air both ways, but I wanna try blowing that way first because remember, the air is getting pulled up through the radiators. Now this is true whether you have radiators or just fans in a case. That's the way the dirt is getting stuck. So if I blow it that way, I'm just gonna stick it in the radiators more. I'm gonna try and blow down, because that's the way that the air originally came in. You should blow it back through from the direction that it came. So if air is coming this way on these fans, I wanna try and blow it that way. I'm gonna see if I can get these fans out with that whole bracket first. Anyway. I'm not gonna be able to pull these fans out to clean like I did that, because the whole loop is in there, and I'm not disassembling it, but... Oh, no, I just hit I didn't mean to hit the GPU yet. This isn't something you typically have to do when you aren't running an open air chassis. because your fan filters in your case will do the job most of the time, and then your dirt only has one point of entry, and that's wherever your intakes are. But when you're open air chassis, your intakes is everywhere. And if you do it like I did, which is leave your computer running while a windstorm was happening with your windows open, and even though I have screens, so much dirt made it past that. I came in the next morning and I opened the door, and the door was like, poof. I was like, what the heck? Oh man, and I looked at the computer and it was on, and it was just like, I went to my couch and I went, and it went, I was like, oh. Closing the windows was all I had to do, and I forgot. I open the windows when I'm live streaming, because it gets hot in that room. And I have two windows on opposite end of the room, so I get a nice cross flow, and then it really doesn't get hot in there when I do that. But it was after one of my drunk streams, and I was like, I'm going to bed, and just left everything on. What I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna go ahead and take the 3090 out of here. And to do that, I've got to undo the entire vertical mount bracket thing. Because like I said, I really am debating putting this back in a standard layout. When I built this system, it was all about putting the 3090 on display, front and center. But it's not that cool and exciting anymore. I mean, it is, but it's not, because it's sort of a reminder of like, look what you can't get, you know? I mean, sure, I've got it, but I feel bad about it. I really do. You know, hey, I'll take it. I also don't think this is a PCIe Gen 4 cable. And we have some get away! I really just start getting my brush in here on things without trying to scrape things up, but this is where everything starts to collect with dust. And I can't, with the vertical mount in there, I can't clean this like I want. I'm starting to just sort of question myself, like, why am I about to go down the 12th gen route when there's still so many known problems with it? I mean, I answered that in the video. It's because this is one of the ways I get to know the problems and become hands-on with the platform, and then I can answer your guys' questions of like, hey, is this a problem? Is that a problem? All right, let's get these front fans out of here. The Inwind is such a unique chassis on the way it assembles. So is the Spectre, obviously. And the Spectre is gonna probably be even worse just because of the fact that it has actual fans pulling in directly. I guess I could, I don't know. It may surprise me. It may not be as bad, honestly. But, all right, so this should just pull, yeah. And then, that's what I love about these Inwind, or these Lee & Lee fans, is I can just, boop, look at that. And we're free! That's why these fans have just literally, even though they're expensive as hell, have just continued to earn my excitement every time I work with them because of stuff like that. It's like I got 3 fans here, and I was able to easily unhook all 3 of them now. So we're just gonna repeat the process we did with the other fans. I mean, now I'm just cleaning off the reservoir, which is plexi. You don't want to use anything coarse. So a nice microfiber still could scratch acrylic, but don't push hard, just wipe a little bit. Take the compressed air and hit it. And that's about all I can do to clean this particular rig. The power supply fan is on the top because it has to get air from the chamber. It's solid. On the bottom here, there's no vent at all. So that's why the power supply is mounted that way in case you're looking at it going, it's upside down, you professional noob. So if you want to run an open air chassis, be prepared to do this. Usually every season, and depending on where you live, I live in a, like I said, fine dirt that can make its way through brand new windows, dual pane, weather strip, you know, high wind capable windows. Fine dirt still makes its way through. So if you want to run an open chassis, because I get this question a lot, is it worth running an open chassis? Is it better for cooling? It's like, it's good for cooling, depending on the design, but it's also terrible for cleanliness. And this is just what you trade off for it. So now I get to put the system back together, which literally consists of just, in fact, we'll do it in real time. People all the time call me a Lee & Lee fanboy. Like, you just like the fans, the fanboy. It's like, no, these are the best fans ever designed in terms of their modularity. So I'm hooking my plug back on, and I'm making my way downtown or something like that. I don't know. Some Terry Crews stuff, right? All right, that's in. There, all three of the front fans are now literally plugged in to their hub, because that's where the cable was, and are now connected to the system and ready to go. If I had standard fans there right now, that would have been a bit more of a process. Having to unzip tie them wherever they're zip tied in, trace them, get all mad at it. And those are now installed. So the rear fans are literally the same thing. Most cases don't have rear fans like this, but this one does. There, rear fans are now installed. And now all 6 of the fans that I took out to clean are now back in. So you can see why I chose the Inwin 928, or the 925, and then the Lee & Lee fans paired with them. So you might notice the graphics card is not in there right now. That's because I'm gonna do a separate video right now about tearing this guy down to clean it as much as possible, and then also see how this is gonna look vertical or horizontal mounted versus vertical. And then I'll probably change out this with a PCIe Gen 4. I think this is a Gen 3. I don't know, but tune into that video to learn about.
Tune in.
It's tuning in, isn't it? Bye.